Here I am outside the Dockers team store here in Subiaco. It's Leigh Farnell. I'm walking towards the Eagles team store. I mean, talk about the tale of two cities, two teams. There we are. Here we are, walking past the Eagles. It's a beautiful thing. Oh, there it is. Interesting, two teams. Dockers last year just got rid of their coach. The Eagles getting into the top four, almost getting into a grand final, playing against Collingwood. But interesting enough, you go, well, how did that happen? How do you transform a team? How do you transform a business? How do you get outstanding results? How do you get a fantastic turnaround? Well, let's take the Eagles. One of the things the Eagles had done was they had more high-quality players on the park. They had a lot of injuries the previous year, but beyond that, they then looked at their stats and said, well, where were we weak compared to the competition? And one of the things the Eagles did was they realised that when the ball got inside 50 in their forward line, it very quickly got coughed up and turned around. So they said, how do we turn that weakness into a strength? And so they recruited good people in to coach them on how to actually do that. Got the fellow in Burns from ex-Collingwood, Port Adelaide, worked on that to turn it round, to turn the weakness into a strength. They also had a mentoring program with the university so that each player got a grounded understanding of how life worked outside of football, because often inside football players are very much cocooned and institutionalised, and they were much more grounded this year, as in I know Dean Cox had Ian Cameron, the ABC radio presenter, Pritis and others had Fiona Wood, the Australian of the Year, to start to see how life worked beyond football, change their thinking, change their motivation. Well, the interesting story, besides the fact that the Eagles had an outstanding season, turning weaknesses into strengths, getting right up there almost to get into the grand final, I understand now that the players have voted and they've decided they don't need mentors. So we've asked a group of 22-year-olds who are cocooned essentially from the rest of society of whether they have found value in having coaches outside of their sports science and nutrition coaches. I think it's like the patients deciding on how to run the asylum. Now, of course, you want input, but sometimes people don't know actually what's good for them, particularly things like mentoring. Research actually shows often people don't realise the impact and the power of a coach until years later. Well, let's see what happens to the Eagles this year. Let's see what happens to the Dockers this year with their new coach, who had the best win-loss ratio in the league. Will he actually bring that skill? Can he make the transformations required, turning the Dockers' weaknesses into strengths? Who knows? Maybe it's just a factor of their injuries being less next year. It will all unfold, but the science tells me that it's more than just a new coach. There's a cultural issue there that needs to be looked at. Tale of two teams. I'll be interviewing Brian Cook from Geelong in the next couple of weeks. Let's hear what Cookie has to say about it. What's it got to do with you? It's got to do with you turning weaknesses into strengths. It's got to do with you looking at your coaches and your mentors. It's got to do with how do I get the best out of myself and my team. Usually it means stepping out of the comfort zone and doing something different, not just copying the competition. This is Leigh Farnell, www.leighfarnell.com. Some food for thought.